A while back you did the document design group battle. Who won? The sample resume battle is my attempt to get you started thinking about document design. I know we talked about it a little bit when we had this assignment, but I want to see where your mind went, how well you can design, what you think looks good. So let's talk about that sample resume. This is written by an actual student who actually took the class. I changed all the identifying information, stripped out all the formatting. And in case you caught the name and haven't seen Steven Universe, that very magnificent, awesome show, you really should. It's really, really good. Anyway, secondly, this was a battle. I put you in groups, and this is one of the first big group assignments you had. And I just wanted to see where you were as much as anything else. I knew that you were going to be up against time constraints because I didn't give you a tremendous amount of time. So yeah, I kind of expect the work to be a little bit rushed. If yours is, that's perfectly and utterly natural. Am I expecting perfection? No, not at all. I just wanted to get you in there working. And sometimes just getting your hands dirty will teach you an awful lot. I'm not going to judge you too much on this one because the main goal here is to just point out stuff that's going to give you plenty of opportunities to improve, to keep getting better. I want to get inside your head, get you starting to work. Now, if I start to sound like I'm being mean or aggressive or anything in here, I really don't mean it that way. It's just that when we go over sample work, I find it works a whole lot better if I'm able to come at it from a stupidly critical, stupidly literal point of view. I'm not going to assume you meant something because in the real world, people don't do that. And I'm only going to read what you actually have on the page. I'm only going to focus on things that need to be changed. Overall, for the amount of time you had, everybody did a fine job. But it's our goal to be a little critical in here because being critical points out things that you can fix and get better. And that's really what we're all here for, right? To get better. So let's start off this one by talking about the submission from the art group. The first thing you need to know is, while it looks pretty decent, it's a little bit generic. I mean, literally this is a document template that's had a little bit of work done to it. And I know it's a document template because in the other section, I got one that was using the exact same template. There's nothing wrong with using templates, but do some customization so I don't see another one that looks exactly like it. Change the fonts drastically, change the colors of the thing, move stuff around, and so on and so forth. I know a certain amount of that was done, but make your resume look unique whenever humanly possible. Second thing, this is done in columns. Now, columns seem like a natural way to organize information. One of the things I've learned lately, a lot of businesses are moving towards having the initial look at resumes done by computer programs. Particularly this happens in larger organizations. And the problem with this is that a lot of these programs really can't distinguish between columns and can't suss out what information is supposed to go to what. Last time I was trying to apply to jobs, I had this problem where they would try to scan my PDF and automatically fill in slots in their program, but because I had my initial resume in columns, it didn't do a particularly good job of this. So this isn't anything I told you about at the time, but in future it's a pretty good move to not go for columns when you're talking about your resume. There's an objective section on here. The objective section is probably something you should cut at this point in time. The objective sections are seen as a little bit passé, a little bit old school, and they don't really do enough of a job to make it worth their while. If you were trying to use it to customize your resume to the specific job, well, there are better ways to do it, and I would do it when you're explaining your job duties, when you're explaining your experiences and all of that. And don't forget, we also have the letter to deal with. Let's look at a little bit of the organization on this thing. Particularly, let's look at these two sections. First thing you're going to notice is that the bullets on the left-hand side under each of these items are farther over to the left than the actual name of the specific employers. Bullets should be indented a little bit. That makes them more visually distinct. This way, it just kind of doesn't show you the distinctions you need. The second thing you need to know is that on the right-hand side, everything goes right up to the edge. And this makes this look overly cramped. You can and probably should indent a little bit. Again, those aforementioned computers I talked about might very well not deal with the lack of margins here all that well. They might not read it, but even if we don't think about them, the people judging these are going to see this, and it's going to make it look like there's just way too much stuff on the page. If there's enough information to go to the second page, go to the second page, but having a cramped section doesn't really do you any favors. The volunteer experiences are also numbered. I'm not really sure why they're numbered. Numbered lists are for steps to be performed in a particular order. The other thing I noticed about these is that they are not in reverse chronological order. You always want to go reverse chronological order, have the newest job at the top, and then go backwards from there. Because your newest job should be the first thing they see, because it's going to be the most important and probably most vital to the specific job. Let's move to the education group. This is a submission from the education group. And while I don't know if this is from a template, it does also look a little bit generic. It looks like somebody just sat down and typed, did a little bit of work on fonts. And yeah, the bullets are indented, although there's only like one bullet for each of them. But it doesn't strike out good visual design. It doesn't jump out from the crowd. And if somebody is reviewing resumes and has a massive stack of them, ones that look generic are going to start to look the same to them. You want your resume to stand out a bit. I would recommend going to do an image search resume, and you're going to be able to see a lot of the good trends that are out there. I'm not going to bring up stuff like the objective each time. I know that was in the original. Let's instead look at this specific element here. First thing is you're going to notice that this does not use a serif font for the body text. It's supposed to use a serif font for the body text. Instead, it uses a sans serif font for the body text. Not only that, but if you look at the sans serif font used for these two entries, it's a different one for each one. It's probably not the way you want to do things because it looks, frankly, a little haphazard. Now the environment group. The environment group has a little bit more design than the education, but it still looks a little bit generic. Is it going to stand out from the crowd? A little bit more than the last one, but not a tremendous amount, I don't think. Let's go into the detail here. There's a couple things that I noticed in looking at the resume, and that there's a lack of consistency when it comes to spacing. There's no space between the experience items. There's a lot of space between the volunteer experience items, and that's a little bit of an issue because it looks inconsistent again. And inconsistent, the worst thing that someone's going to say is they didn't even put forth enough effort to make it look unified. And if they think you're not putting forth that much effort, it might have some effect on how they think about you. The other thing that I noticed on this one is look at the volunteer experience. It lists specific things for each of the job, but it doesn't do so using bullets. Bullets are the traditional way to list items. Technology groups, again, looks a little bit generic. And there are some spacing issues on this one as well. Notice there's not a lot of space between education and the first entry, which is bulleted, and I'm not really sure why. But there's a lot of space between experience and the first title. Consistency is good. The other place where I don't see consistency is the bullets. The bullets for the experience are much farther over than the bullets for the education. Now, again, take this all entirely in the spirit to which I intended. We're just trying to do this to see real-world examples and give yourself real-world practice. But I said it was a battle, so for a battle, we have to pick a winner, and my winner is going to be... As always, try to keep the competition friendly, and if you won, awesome, congratulations! Good job. If you didn't, this is a learning opportunity for everybody. So let's just try to take the lessons you pulled from this, apply them to all your future work, and then we're all winners. See you next time.